As Coach Carm said, our speaker today is Dr. Michael Higgins. Dr. Higgins was born and raised in Colmont and is a graduate of the 1995 class at Mount Carmel, where he had the honor of being class valedictorian. While at Mount Carmel, Dr. Higgins was a three-sport athlete, and he excelled in all three. On the baseball field, he was a co-captain and voted team MVP. He was also co-captain of the 1995 boys varsity basketball team that won a district championship and won 21 games that year. The 21 wins by that team is second most in school history. On the gridiron is where Mike excelled the most and where he really made his name and became a staple in Mount Carmel history as the quarterback from 1991 to 1994. He started 50 consecutive games, a feat that had not been accomplished by any quarterback in Mount Carmel before that time. He was co-captain of the 94 Red Tornadoes team, which won the Class AA district and state championships. His on-the-field accomplishments rank him among the elite in Mount Carmel's rich quarterback tradition, earning him first-team All-State honors in 1994. Some of his career numbers include 55 touchdown passes, which ranks him third. He's also third in career completions with 355, and third in career yards with 5,177 yards. And he was a part of the most prolific pass-catch combo in Mount Carmel history, where he connected with his teammate and buddy Joel Gonzalo for 122 completions and 20 touchdowns. What you have to understand about Dr. Higgins on the football field is that he started a run of championships, and he was part of a football team that took the whole town by storm in 1994. Mount Carmel went on to win 5 championships in 9 years, but I truly believe without what his team accomplished in 94, that might not have happened. He put Mount Carmel back on the map. His team put us back in the elite status of football teams in the state. He's probably most remembered for a 7-yard touchdown against Forest Hills in the state championship in double overtime at Altoona's Mansion Park. It gave Mount Carmel its first modern-day state championship, and his 7-yard run coined the phrase, "Higgins is in," which when we see the replay today, it gives me the chills, and I'm sure everyone who was in attendance that day. After graduating from Mount Carmel, Mike went on to Franklin and Marshall, where he was a starting quarterback for F&M in 1997 and 1998. During 1998, he earned all conference honors as a quarterback. After Franklin and Marshall, Mike Higgins went to Pennsylvania College of Optometry, where he graduated in 2003 as a doctor in optometry, and he is currently employed by Geisinger Medical Center's ophthalmology department. Mike currently resides in Denmark Gardens with his beautiful wife Tara and 3 children. And in an age where people of your generation idolize musicians, celebrities, and athletes for really no reason at all, we have a hometown hero that really is a type of person you should all idolize. So it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, the Chief, Dr. Michael Higgins.
Coach. Thanks, Mike. So thank you, Mike. Thanks to the Rotary Club and its officers and the football team for inviting me here to talk today. Being asked to speak at this banquet is a unique honor, unlike any other I've ever had in my life. When I look at some of the past speakers of this banquet, names that include Jim Brown, Joe Paterno, Joe Theismann, Ron Jaworski, it's quite humbling to be asked to follow in their footsteps. And though my athletic accomplishments pale in comparison to many of my predecessors, unlike most of them, I sat at this very banquet about 20 years ago, so I know better than any of them what it means to be a Mount Carmel Red Tornado football player. I know what kind of pride that brings and what an amazing honor it is to represent this great tradition. I'm a huge sports fan, mostly Philly teams. I root for the Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, Penn State, and Notre Dame at the college level. I'm a Duke basketball fan. But if someone were to ask me my all-time favorite sports team, it's the Mount Carmel Red Tornadoes. They're the team that I get most excited about and most passionate. I still get butterflies before big games, and through the years, even when living out of the area in Harrisburg for a while, or while going to school in Philadelphia or in Lancaster, I rarely missed a game. As a matter of fact, when I was at F&M, I played Saturday afternoons, and I used to drive to Mount Carmel Area games the night before my college games, which often got me in hot water since Coach wanted us in our dorms by 11 o'clock, and it was sometimes cutting it pretty close. One particular weekend in 1998, my senior year at F&M, Mount Carmel was playing Southern Columbia on a Friday night, and that's a can't-miss game for me. So I got back a bit late, and Coach knew it, but he didn't make a big deal about it. The next day, we were at Muhlenberg, nursing a 3-point lead with about 4 minutes left, and I took the ball on an option left. I got hit, the ball popped up right into the air and into the waiting arms of a Muhlenberg player who raced 50 yards for the go-ahead touchdown. My coach was absolutely livid. We got the ball back, and fortunately, we went on a 70-yard drive, and I threw the winning touchdown pass with a few seconds left. Coming off the field, Coach Tom Gilbert, who I have tremendous respect for and is one of the nicest men I've ever met, he hugged me in uncontrollable, genuine celebration. Then, remembering my fumble, grabbed me by the face mask, shook it, and said, "That is the last time you're ever going to a Mount Carmel game the night before one of our games, and that's final." And that was the last MCA game I attended for some time. I guess to be exact, it was about 6 days, because the following week was Shamokin, and there was no way I was missing that game. The last playoff game I missed was on November 29th, 2008. I know you're impressed I remember the date, but it's easy for me to remember because it was the day I got married. My brother Eric was my best man, and he had responsibility not only of keeping track of the wedding rings, but also to create, or to come up with creative ways to get me scoring updates throughout the course of the Mass. He was sitting in the pew with the groomsmen, and I was at the altar, so I kind of relied on him for those scoring updates. My wife Tara was a good sport about it, largely because she graduated with me in 1995, and she used to be a Red Tornado cheerleader. She used to cheer for me to throw touchdown passes, and now she just cheers for me to get my butt home after work so we can get the kids bathed and in bed at a reasonable time. I love her dearly, and I'm glad she made it here today. When I was a kid growing up, I was a dreamer. I dreamed that one day I'd be a Red Tornado. I attended games. I didn't congregate behind the bleachers like so many others. I was glued to the action, every game, every play. In the 1980s, playing football in the backyard with my brother Eric, my lifelong friend Joel Gonzalo, and many of the other neighborhood kids in Shady Acres, we were the Tornadoes. While other kids emulated Joe Montana and Walter Payton, we were pretending to be Mike Dimnick or Rob Verano in the early 80s, Mike Aaronsfield and Tony Mazzatesta in the mid to late 80s. I was captivated by the mystique of MCA football, the image of Coach Dimnick always running out with his team, the hallowed Silver Bowl. I was awestruck. There was something about being an MCA player that was plainly fascinating and mesmerizing, and it was apparent even from an early age. I was in the presence of something truly magnificent. And this was in the 80s. This was a decade where there was no state championships, and Mount Carmel really hadn't won a championship of any kind in several years. But it had nothing to do with that. It was the spectacle of it all, the fanfare, the magic, the winning tradition. That's what drew me in. As a freshman and sophomore, I had the honor of playing for Coach Joe Jazz Dimmick, one of the great pioneers of high school football in the state and honestly, probably the whole country. In one of the proudest moments of my life, he chose me as his starting quarterback in my first game as a freshman. For this legendary coach to place his confidence in me at such a young age was truly remarkable. I doubt I could ever fully explain how much his decision profoundly and positively impacted my life. I've always had great admiration for this man who, more than anyone else, is the reason why this football program rose to such an elite level. I also had the wonderful privilege of playing for Coach Carm for those 2 years, who was an assistant coach at the time. I vividly remember him taking us to the creature bleachers and explaining to us what it was to be a football player. I remember it well because it was the first time anyone ever made clear to me the amazing parallels between the game of football and life. The joys of winning, the pain of losing, the importance of teamwork and family, the getting knocked down, the bouncing back up. He explained it very eloquently, and it struck a chord with me and made me love this great sport even more. One quick story: as a freshman quarterback in 1991, our third game of the season was against Williamsport. It was a game I remember well because it was the first varsity win that I was ever a part of. I also threw my first touchdown pass in that game. So Williamsport's defense featured a blue-chip linebacker who was probably 6'2" and 260 pounds. He was a standout wrestler in the heavyweight division. I believe he went on to play football at Florida State. In short, the guy was a monster. At one point in the game, during a short yardage situation, he was at the line of scrimmage showing blitz. I drew him offside with a hard count. The play was blown dead, and he was overwhelmed with frustration, so he just came across and flagrantly decked me, sending me flying. And considering at the time I was about 5'9", 155 pounds, it was no great feat. But the refs hit him with an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and both teams started to get pretty heated. Coach Dimnick and the rest of the coaching staff yelled out, "Keep your composure." They urged that we don't get caught up in any extracurricular activities, don't retaliate, control your emotions, control your emotions. A few minutes later, on a sweep toward our home sidelines, the same knucklehead started up again with some nonsense after the whistle right in front of our bench. A melee then ensues as someone from our team gets right in his face and locks horns with this beast. It spills onto the field, and the coaches and security guards from both sidelines tried to restore order. It got pretty ugly. As they start peeling people out of the scrum, take a guess who they find at the bottom of the pile still grappling with this District 4 heavyweight championship wrestler. Coach Carmel. Apparently he felt the need to mix it up with this hothead. And I was worried I might embellish the story a little bit because it's been 23 years, so I recently went back and watched the game footage. And boy, am I glad I did, because I would have missed the part where it took 5 Mount Carmel players to physically drag him away and restrain him. 10 minutes earlier, he was yelling, "Control your emotions." It was at that moment when I got to witness the fire and passion that this man had for MCA football. Anyone who's played for him, listened to his pregame speeches, or watched him on the sideline knows that controlling his emotion is not something he excels at. But that's why we love him. He pours his heart into coaching his players, and his passion runs deep. He does a tremendous job he's done a tremendous job these last few seasons. And I feel it's fitting that the program is in the hands of someone who grew up dreaming about the Red Tornadoes just like I did, and who relishes the winning traditions of this program the same way I do. So to Coach Carm, I tip my hat. To the rest of the coaching staff, and especially the 2013 Red Tornadoes and cheerleaders, congratulations on a fantastic season. I was fortunate enough to attend nearly every game, and the ones I missed, I listened to on the webcast. One thing's for sure, win or lose, you guys competed at a high level and brought a lot of excitement to each and every game. As a matter of fact, maybe a little too much excitement at times. I don't think I slept for about 3 days after the North Schuylkill game. And I'm just a fan. I can't imagine how some of your parents deal with it, after these pressure cookers. Coach Carm touched on this earlier, but I want to acknowledge this again. I want to acknowledge all the stressed out, prayed out parents who take their yearly roller coaster ride with their football players' sons. I'd invite the 2013 Tornadoes to join me right now. Get up out of your seats, locate your parents, and give them a great round of applause for their unwavering support. Let's go. Your parents, they love you more than you'll ever know. I've only come to fully appreciate this in the last 4 years, as I am now the proud father of 3 little boys. So my first nugget of advice, and I'd like to offer this up to this year's players, and admittedly it's a shameless and probably hopeless plug for parents across the world, but it's worth a try. Listen to your parents. Take their advice. Trust their judgment. Honor their rules. They know much more than you do. I was sitting there once as a 19-year-old ready to graduate and thinking I was all grown up and had it all figured out. Looking back now, it astonishes me how little I actually knew. And I was a valedictorian, for crying out loud. So whether you're 5, 10, 15, or 20 years old, listen to your parents. My mom is sitting there right now beaming, thinking, finally, after 30 years, he finally gets it. Congratulations, Mom, your day has come. Maybe it takes having children of your own to finally understand. Now that I'm older, I have a renewed gratitude for the sacrifices my parents made for me, my brother, and my sister. As a high school student, I was the world's worst procrastinator when it came to my schoolwork. And it was my mom, God love her, who stayed after me every day and pushed me to reach my academic potential. I used to feel like she was constantly nagging me, but looking back now, I'm so grateful she did. So listen to your parents. Love your parents. Love your families. My family, along with my faith in God, has always been the foundation of my life. Life is a long journey, and my family serves as my compass, always pointing me in the right direction in times when the right path is not so clear. Football is the greatest team sport, and just like you won't get far on the football field without your teammates, you won't get far in life without your family's love and support. It's something that I never take for granted. So I encourage everyone here on their life's journey to use the same compass I do. Make family and faith the top priority of your life. I can assure you, you'll always find your way. Before I attempt to offer any more advice, I feel the need to humbly admit that I'm not a guy that has all the answers. I'd like to think I'm still relatively young, and therefore, I'm still learning every day, quite a bit actually. But one thing I can say with certainty and conviction is this: any measure of success I've ever come upon has come down to one unfailing principle, and it's something my dad taught me as a boy, and it's stuck with me every day of my life. Give 100% in everything you do. Any job, task, or undertaking, no matter how trivial, my dad pounded it in my head to do it to the absolute best of my ability. Whether I was cutting the grass, chopping wood, cleaning my room, doing my homework, or practicing my foul shot. Effort, above all else, is the key to success. This is true as a football player and in every other facet of your life. And I'll tell you why. First of all, and this should be pretty obvious, maximum effort will maximize your chances to attain your goals. Secondly, when you do succeed, it will be more fulfilling and gratifying than you can imagine. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, when you fall short of your goals, you'll never look back with regret. Sadly, there are times in our lives when we fail. That's part of life. You can't win every game, you can't ace every test. And it's perfectly natural to feel disappointment after a defeat. But if you know in your heart that you gave your best effort, the pain will subside. But regret can haunt you. If you're feeling regret after a failure, you probably failed to give your best effort. And you won't need anyone else to tell you about it, because in your heart, you'll know it. So commit yourself to give 100% in every part of your life. As an athlete, a student, a son or daughter, a brother or sister, a friend. Effort, far more than talent, can be a powerful ally on life's journey. You want to see proof of that on the football field, and watch what happens after a running back drags 3 or 4 tacklers for a first down after he was bottled up for a loss. Listen to the crowd come alive in appreciation of that amazing effort. Watch how it invigorates and motivates your teammates. It's contagious. It's momentum altering. So always keep in mind that talent may dazzle or wow the spectators, but effort, mighty, gritty, relentless effort, will inspire them. When I sat at this banquet in 1995, Jason Garrett, the now coach of the Dallas Cowboys, remarked about the unbelievable pride NFL players had for their high school teams, even far more than their college teams. He spoke about Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and how they bragged of their respective high school accomplishments. Standing here today, that talk still resonates with me because 20 years later, the pride I feel for my high school football team is as strong as it ever was. And I too had my share of accomplishments, for which I was greatly proud. By the time I graduated, I had broken many passing records, most of which have since been broken by a run of great QBs, the likes of Shinsky and Sebas and the Washaleski brothers, to name a few. I recently learned that I'm also the holder of one interesting record, which I never knew before. I learned that I'm the school's all-time leader in rushing yards. Actually, that's negative rushing yards. Apparently, I'm the worst rusher in the history of the school. If you listed everyone in school history who's ever carried the ball and ranked them according to success, I'm dead last on that list. You know, maybe we should recheck that. Are you sure you counted that right, Jose? Feel free for any of you players to go ahead and break that one anytime soon. I'll be rooting for you. The truth is, I was quite proud of all my statistical accomplishments, and don't get me wrong, I still am. But the point I want to make is that as time marches on, memories from those type of accomplishments slowly fade. And what's left are memories of moments, special moments that live in our minds. As you get older, it becomes increasingly clear that life is a series of moments, are always flying by us, most of which come and go and are never remembered. It's the ones that stimulate our emotions that become memories. And when an opportunity for a moment like that comes along, it's up to us to seize them, in football and more importantly in life. As a football player, these moments experienced with your teammates will ultimately matter more to you than any trophy or medal for a great individual accomplishment. If I asked each of my teammates on the 1994 state championship team if any of them remember the night I broke the career passing yardage record, I can guarantee you that none of them, not one, will have any memory of it, nor do I. If I asked them if any remembered the night Joel Gonzalez broke the career reception record, same thing, no one will remember that. But if I asked them if they remembered Joel's sensational juggling touchdown catch on a fade route to open the scoring against Dallas, the defending state champ, I can promise you every one of them will remember that moment. The same is true when Coach Whitey Williams dialed up a fake field goal and I hit my brother Eric for a touchdown pass as time expired, basically sealing that win. Everyone remembers those magic moments because there's a swell of emotion that we all experience together. That's what makes those memories special, when they're shared between the players and the fans alike. Those are the moments that will give you chills years later. Standing before you right now is the worst rusher in school history, a whopping minus 424 yards to be exact. But thankfully, nobody remembers that. But I know all my teammates, and I'll bet many of you vividly remember a positive 7-yard gain in double overtime on a wet and freezing cold day in Altoona nearly 20 years ago. It's the special moments that matter in football and in life. So focus on seizing your special moments. Remember that individual stats and even team records will eventually be forgotten. But special moments you experience with your teammates will endure and provide your happiest and most cherished tornado memories. Now there's one record for which I'm extremely proud. Here at Mount Carmel, the one statistical number that should be of greatest importance is the number on top of the press box, 820. We have the winningest high school football team in the state, and that is an impressive distinction that earns our little coal cracker town statewide respect. The 2013 Tornadoes won 7 games, raising that state record from 813 to 820, and you should be very proud of that. The state record is uniquely important to me, and I'll tell you why. In 1951, an MCA football team went 2-9 in what was probably the worst record-wise season we've ever had. Does anyone know what was special about that team? Without their 2 wins, the sign on top of the press box would only read 818 now instead of 820. In 1985, MCA went 4-7, which was the first losing season in about 30 years. But without their 4 wins, that 818 just got knocked down to 814. Remarkably, there's never been one team in our storied history that has gone winless. And that's well over 100 years, I guess 120 years of football. Meaning that every team who's ever donned the red and white, regardless if they won 2 games or 15, every team has contributed to this amazing total of 820. As far as I'm concerned, every player, coach, cheerleader, alumni, or fan could stake a claim to that record and take great pride in it because they've all in some way, at some time, contributed to it. The beauty of that record is that we all own it. We share it, everyone in this room. It is a record that promotes a feeling of unity and togetherness throughout the history of this great program. When you think about it like that, I think that record is really pretty special. That record, that one amazing record, 820 wins, that's the enduring symbol of MCA's football legacy, and we're all a part of it. Now, having said that, the legacy of MCA football runs far deeper than the state record. Most outsiders associate Mount Carmel with hard-nosed coal region style, our many championships, our winning tradition. But there's so much more to it than that. I have as much pride in this football tradition as anyone. And I put forth that Tornado pride is not based on winning every game. It's not about Eastern Conference championships or district titles or even state championships, coveted as they are. The legacy of MCA football does not lie solely on on-field achievements. It exists with the impressive number of young men who go on to find success in life due in large part to their unique and invaluable experience of being an MCA football player. That's really what Tornado pride is all about, the development of a winning attitude, a winning spirit. For any young man to carry the red Tornado banner for 4 years, to represent his family and town in this manner, to perform on a stage so grand as the Silver Bowl, it has an immeasurable impact on a young man's character. From this great winning tradition, boys will be molded into young men who will leave this program brimming with confidence, strength, and pride in themselves. They'll feel they are part of something truly special, and that confidence will stay with them as they take their next steps in life. Mount Carmel football players have gone on to do amazing things in their lives. Hundreds of doctors, lawyers, businessmen, teachers have emerged from this program through the years and have benefited from the lessons learned from their playing experiences at MCA to find success in all walks of life. That is what makes this winning tradition a special one, even more so than ownership of the state wins record. It's very easy as a passionate fan to get caught up in the winning is everything attitude. We're all guilty of that at times, and I include myself in that. But I think we can sometimes all use a reminder that at the end of the day, when all the smoke clears, at the root of our torrid love affair with MCA football is a group of about 40 high school kids who are the lifeblood of the program. And the focus really needs to be on their growth and their journey. The tornado pride shines brightest while witnessing the transformation of these kids into classy, character-rich, successful young men. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the true legacy of MCA football. So to all you graduating seniors, I say congratulations and thank you for an exciting 4 years of football, but more so for representing our winning tradition well. You certainly made your mark as Red Tornadoes, and you should be proud, as we all are, of your achievements over these last 4 years. To the underclassmen, my advice is this: have 2 goals for next season. Goal number 1, have fun. You're playing high school football for the great Mount Carmel Red Tornadoes. There are hundreds of alumni, myself included, that would give up their right arm to have a chance to play just one more game as a Red Tornado. If Zach only knew how many times I seriously considered ambushing him outside the locker room, stealing his uniform and trying to blend in with the team just so I could get back in the huddle one more time, he'd probably have a restraining order against me. Don't worry, Dominic, I'm getting better. But being a Red Tornado is a thrill and a rush unlike any other. And once it passes you by, there's no getting it back. So have fun. Embrace those moments. Cherish them. Enjoy them and relish them with all your might. And goal number 2 should be to commit as a team to uphold our high standard of excellence, add to the legacy of the winning tradition, not by feeling pressured to win every game or championship, but by putting forth a winning effort, a championship caliber effort. Prepare for the upcoming season. Prepare for each new game, regardless of the opponent, with effort worthy of this great program and all the great players who came before you. That formula will always lead to success. If you adhere to this ideal, this approach or philosophy, I can assure you, regardless of your win-loss record, you will feel a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction and pride to have been a part of this extraordinary tradition. And you know what? That sign on top of the press box, it will keep turning. Wins will keep coming. And you will further cement the MCA football legacy as one of the proudest in the entire country. Before I close, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my uncle, Bob Patello. He was a proud Rotary supporter for much of his life, a great coach and a great man who was actively involved with this banquet for many years. He passed away a few years ago, and I wish he could have been here for this. I have no doubts that at the conclusion of my talk, he would have probably come up to the podium, might have tapped his watch a little bit and gave me a funny look, made some amazingly sharp-witted remark with his uniquely dry sense of humor that would have probably brought the house down. He's deeply missed. I hope I did him proud by being here today. I think he would have enjoyed seeing me up here. Hopefully he's looking down with a smile. Thank you.